What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the RAS Project. Real stories from real humans. This is where we debunk the bullshit and fluff and talk about 100% proven tactics and strategies to help you grow your life and business. My name is Ivan Temelkov, and of course, I am your host. And before we jump into the show, today's episode will focus on the entrepreneurial struggle. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pandora, and this portion of the episode, the video portion, will be available on YouTube uh, later on today. I've got one favor to ask. Did you find value in this episode? If so, please tell others about the RAS Project. You can subscribe in all your favorite podcasting portals. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube as well, where you can watch this episode of the podcast afterwards. You got questions? I got answers. Send me an email at ivan@razorsharpdigital.com, and I would love to tackle your question on the next episode of the RAS Project. So, as I mentioned, this episode today, we're going to focus on the entrepreneurial struggle. I want to delve into this a little bit further today because this is entrepreneurship is a very, very, very heavily scrutinized area, and we'll talk about that. I want to share some insights and personal experiences with you guys and hope that it can help you improve your journey that you're currently on. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small business owner, chances are you're here for the right reason, by the way. So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Being an entrepreneur isn't easy for a reason. 99% of entrepreneurs never make it in the first 4 years of owning a business. I'm currently on year 5, going on 6, with 3 total business involvements. 1 failed and 2 successful ones. Okay. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because there's a lot of people out there who think that being an entrepreneur, building a business, is an instant gratification. I know it's unfortunate, but a lot of you think that. I don't care how great your fucking idea is, or how good your product is, or how good your service is. Chances are it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to blow up overnight. And in order to bring that to market so it bears fruit, it's going to take at least 4 years. Statistically, 99% of entrepreneurs fail in the first 4 years of running a business, building a business, and a vast majority of those quit, never to come back because they give up too soon. And I could elaborate upon this. All right. I can elaborate upon this heavily because almost every single successful person that I have ever met, the one thing that they had in constant, one thing that they had in common with me is that they've put in a valiant amount of time. I'm talking 10, 20 plus years of their life that they have devoted towards something, a business, an idea, a product, a service, to bring it to fruition. So entrepreneurship isn't easy for a reason. It's hard as fuck. Now, the modern entrepreneur must be agile, savvy, experimental, patient, resilient, and so many other things. So many other things. And this is important because you have to be relevant to the marketplace. Okay? You have to be relevant. You have to be relevant from a technology standpoint. You have to be relevant from a marketing standpoint. You have to be relevant with your processes and procedures. And a lot of entrepreneurs simply aren't, and that's the reality of it, is just that to be agile, to be savvy, to be experimental, to be patient, to be resilient. These are all things that a lot of entrepreneurs aspire to be, but a vast majority of them never actually reach that level. Never reach that level. So if you're one that has become extremely resilient, if you're one that has become agile and savvy and you're very experimental, then you've mastered a lot more than what most entrepreneurs have already mastered. And the reason I'm telling you this is if you're watching on Facebook, I posted my daily reading this morning, and it talked about the fact that you never master your craft. Now, another thing, one common mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make, and that's one that I have made also in the past, is that they're led to believe that they've mastered their craft. You haven't, because as an entrepreneur, you are a lifelong learner. There's always something new to learn in your industry, in your niche. So, embracing the lifelong learner mentality and continuously learning, continuously experimenting, continuously embracing curiosity and experimentation is what's going to put you ahead of everyone else in your industry, in your niche, in your vertical. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you that. And what you're seeing there on the screen, if you're watching on video, is I popped up today's episode topic, which is the entrepreneurial struggle. And there is a struggle in entrepreneurship. Okay. If you're an entrepreneur and you're building a business based on some fucking idea or a product that you think is the next best thing to slice bread, and you don't know that entrepreneurship is hard for a reason, then you're probably in the wrong profession. I hate to tell you that because of things that I just mentioned a second ago. All right. But here's the real question, okay? Or actually one particular question that I'm tackling here in this episode. And that is, how can you cope with the entrepreneurial struggle? Okay? How can you cope with the entrepreneurial struggle? There is such thing as an entrepreneurial struggle. I don't care how savvy or agile or resilient you are struggling every single fucking day. I don't know of any entrepreneur who doesn't struggle every day in some form or fashion, financially, mentally, emotionally, from a customer base standpoint, and all of that. Because that is what in part entrepreneurship is. That is why 99% of entrepreneurs fail in the first 4 years, because of the ramifications that come with entrepreneurship. It ain't easy. If it was fucking easy, everybody will be walking their ass into entrepreneurship, building the next Apple, building the next Tesla, building the next whatever the fuck you want to call. But there is a struggle. There is an entrepreneur struggle. Entrepreneurship is boring to many people. Entrepreneurship is scary to many people. But entrepreneurship is desired by many and pursued by few. And here's the caveat of all of this: entrepreneurship is heavily criticized. I can't begin to tell you that when I first started my digital marketing agency, Razor Sharp Digital, how many people would tell me that I was wasting my time, that this isn't going to pan out, that I'm not going to make money, that I'm going to end up homeless, and all kinds of other bullshit. I'm here to tell you that if you, as an entrepreneur, are listening to what society is telling you to do versus focusing on what's important to you, whether it comes in 1 year and goes out the other, it comes in one year, you filter it and comes out the other, then you're not doing entrepreneurship right. Entrepreneurship is about innovation and disruption. That's a huge part of it. Well, if you're listening to what society is telling you because they're criticizing you, chances are you're not thriving and growing. That's the truth of it, okay? And entrepreneurship is extremely stressful and can be depressing as well. Honestly, most entrepreneurs that I know are stressed and depressed as fuck. because of the nuances and the ramifications that go into being an entrepreneur, running a business or multiple businesses on daily basis. It's not easy. Again, it's not easy because it's a lot of discipline. It's a lot of multitasking. It's a lot of decision making. I tell you what, the average American hates fucking making decisions. If they didn't, then why is it that nearly 90% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck? They know they're broke, but they think that the job that they're currently working at is their only viable option. Think about it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. But here is what I want to tackle specifically. So I just pointed out to you the ramifications and nuances of entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial struggle, which is what we're talking about on this episode of the RAS Project, the entrepreneurial struggle. Okay. But the pushing question here is, how can you cope with the entrepreneurial struggle? How can you get through day to day to where tomorrow you wake up and you say, you know what, today was complete shit, man. It was a giant fucking chaos. Everything went wrong. Everything went wrong. And you know what, as an entrepreneur, that shit will happen. Sometimes it'll feel like it's more frequent than ever. Okay? So, how can you cope with the entrepreneurial struggle? How can you get through your day to day? How can you find things that are going to keep you going? Okay? So, here's why. I'm going to put it up on the screen here if you're watching on video. Okay? How can you cope with the entrepreneurial struggle? Why did you start? Ask yourself daily, why did you start a business? Okay? Why did you start a business? All right? Why did I start Razor Sharp Digital? I started Razor Sharp Digital for a lot of different reasons. The biggest reason is my family, because they have the biggest significance to me, but I started it because the marketing space is shit. It's been shit for a very long time. There's a lot of snake in oil. I started it. Why I started is because I wanted to solve bigger problems for companies, because I'm capable of solving bigger problems. After being in the marketing space for 25 years, I finally realized that I've always had it in me, and it was time to start and to build a company that solved bigger problems for companies. A big why of why I started Razor Sharp Digital is because I wanted to build the world's first human marketing agency that focuses on people and relationships over profits and still generates results. Because you know what? Every fucking marketing company on the face of this earth promises that, but does not even deliver a fraction of it. So I'm going to ask you, why did you start? Think about it today. Why did you start? Why did you start your business? Okay. Why are you doing it? Okay. Why? How is it helping others? Okay. So that's one way to cope with the entrepreneur struggle. Now, the second thing is practice gratitude. Okay. Guys, I need you to understand something. If you don't wake up tomorrow, it's the end of the fucking line for you. That's gratitude. That's realizing that there's air in your lungs, your heart is beating, you got 2 feet and 2 legs. 2 feet and 2 hands is what I meant to say. You got 2 years. Okay? That's more than what most people probably have, because there's people that did not wake up today. Because they didn't wake up and they're not alive, they are not going to be able to strive towards their goals and dreams. They're not going to be able to fulfill their why. Okay? So practice gratitude every single day like your fucking life depends on it. Ingrate it in your fucking mind. And every single day, practice that unconditionally. Okay? Now, the third thing that can help you cope with the entrepreneurial struggle, it is a thing, is realizing that you are enough. Okay? You are enough. God has put you on this earth for a reason. Okay? For a purpose. To contribute to society in some form or fashion. Okay? Please understand that that in itself is enough. You can always work on self improvement. Always. Every single one of us. I'll be the first one to admit that, which is something that I work on every single day. But please understand that you are enough. Okay? You are enough. The next thing that can really help you propel in your entrepreneur struggle and help you cope with the challenges that you face is to understand to embrace the lifelong learner mentality. Okay? You are not a know it all. In fact, I actually had a post on this over the weekend on my Facebook wall talking about jack of all trades and master of none. A lot of you are doing just that right now. You are trying to be the jack of all trade and master of none. But the lifelong learner is someone who understands that continued education is a huge, huge part of personal growth, business growth, relationship growth. So, what are you doing today to continue to be a lifelong learner? What are you doing today to learn something new that you were unaware of yesterday? That is what's going to help you grow. That's what's going to help. That's what has helped me personally uh, grow over the years with my business specifically. Now, the next thing to help you cope with the entrepreneur struggle is to be willing, daring, and experimental. Look, if you're an entrepreneur and you do not fathom these things, if you're not willing, if you're not daring, if you're not experimental, then I'm here to tell you that you're in the wrong fucking profession. Because entrepreneurs are every bit of willing. In fact, the best entrepreneurs that I know always go above and beyond in every project and everything that they do. They're daring, they're always doing more or doing things that other people are not going to do. That's daring. And they're being experimental because experimentation is part of entrepreneurship. I don't know if you know this or not, but experimentation is a huge part of entrepreneurship. Okay? Put time into personal development. This is a really, really important thing to understand is that if you want to be successful in your entrepreneurial journey, you need to spend some time on personal development. So things that I do for personal development now, that's a ritual for me is I do a daily reading every morning. I record it and then I post it on my Facebook profile, on my Facebook business page, and my Facebook group, the Human Marketing Alliance, which, by the way, if you haven't joined it, I encourage you to look it up on Facebook. So I do the reading to sharpen my mind, to stay focused, to stay on task, to give me some education, which the book that I'm currently reading actually focuses a lot on the psychology behind entrepreneurship and business because as one of my favorite quotes by Tony Robbins goes along the lines of Business is 90% psychology and 10% execution. You need to have some strategic thinking. And especially for the modern entrepreneur, you need to be agile, you need to be savvy, you need to be strategic, and you need to use your fucking brain. All right? You don't have to be the smartest in the flock, but just use your fucking brain. All right? It's such a key tool, but that contributes to personal development. Other things that I contribute towards personal development is I exercise like a fucking maniac now. In fact, as of last week, I exercise 6 days a week, go through a rigorous course of exercises and sets. And what I found out is that doing that has boosted my mentality, it has boosted my energy, it has boosted my longevity in terms of being able to put in more time and effort on work and just be a lot more daring, a lot more thriving, I should say. So the things that I just mentioned to you, are things that you need to consider for personal development. If they're not, then what's going to help you grow? Reading, exercise, nutrition, um, working out, all of these things. You have to embrace them because it is about personal development. It's about building self-discipline. It's about building courage. It's about building resilience. Um, the next thing that you can do to cope with an entrepreneur struggle is to surround yourself with other like-minded people. Now, the key word here is like-minded people. Okay? First of all, I literally have little to nothing in common with people who work a 9 to 5 job and don't have an entrepreneurial mindset. We just don't. You know, I'm a guy who's full of ideas. I'm a guy who is full of experimentation and disruption and innovation. I'm a guy that works crazy hours, even though I have a family, 2 kids, and a wife. But the people that's going to help you cope with the entrepreneur struggle that you face, probably on day-to-day basis, is going to be other like-minded people. If you surround yourself with other like-minded people, they're going to help give you insight and courage and support, hopefully anyway, to help you get through the day-to-day. So for me, and this is actually for a lot of entrepreneurs as well, I've surrounded myself with people who own businesses, people who are risk takers, people who are very resilient, who are family oriented, people who have great ideas that they want to put into practicality and they want to build things. Like, these are my people. You may have heard the word your tribe. Find your tribe. Those are the like minded people. Okay. Spend time with people who make you happy, especially when you're feeling stuck. You know, I'm here to tell you that I'm here to tell you this that, entrepreneurship is it's very difficult. It just is. It's hard. There's no instant gratification there. It's not like, every week or every 2 weeks, you get that paycheck. In fact, sometimes you don't know if you're going to get a paycheck. In fact, a lot of entrepreneurs don't pay themselves for a very long time. I know, sure as shit, I haven't paid myself in 5 years. I'm looking to change that going into a 6th year, but I haven't paid myself. I haven't paid myself a salary. I haven't paid, everything that I've earned has been invested back into the business. But the key message I want to share with you here is spend time with people who make you happy, especially when you're feeling stuck. Okay? And we all have those days. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, you can relate to this. You can relate to this every bit. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, there's going to be days where you feel like the sky is falling down. You feel like everything is going wrong. No matter what you do, there's not a positive outcome. Everything turns to shit. Those are the days that you need to spend time with people who make you happy. So I spend time with my kids. I spend time with my wife. I see my parents. Um, I talk to them, I sit down, I have a conversation, maybe have dinner with them, try to get my mind off whatever has gone wrong. Because if you infuse that happiness in your mind, it's going to actually boost your energy levels and change your perception. So suddenly, you're not going to be so stuck on, well, fuck, everything has gone wrong today. What else is going to go wrong? And having that pessimistic outlook on things. What it's going to do is it's going to invigorate you. It's going to uplift you. That's why it's important to spend time with people who make you happy, especially in the darkest of times, in the most challenging of times. Because entrepreneurship has a lot of that. I'm here to tell you this. And then last but not least, please understand that what you're doing is something that 99% of other people will never do. Now, there's people out there who will embrace the entrepreneurial mentality and will never pursue it. They'll just stick with what works for them, which might be just, the fact that they're okay with getting a paycheck, even though they're broke after getting their paycheck, or that they have no fulfillment, but they still keep driving that. And there's people who will also embrace the entrepreneurial path that will fail and go back to what they were doing before. I've met all kinds of people. But most importantly, what I need you to understand, the key message behind this episode, the entrepreneur struggle, is that what you are doing is probably something that 99% of other people are not going to do. That is the key message out of this episode that I want you to understand. And that's why you're different. You need to understand that you're different. Embrace being different. You're different for a reason, because you weren't meant to be mediocre. Okay? That's what I want you to remember out of this episode. And if you're still stuck after everything that we just talked about on this episode, you can always reach out to me on any social platform by just looking up my name. I would love to have a conversation with you. I know there's some people, I even have a client currently who is struggling. No matter what he has done, he continues to struggle. And it's difficult. It's harder for some of you than it is for others. But you got to keep going. You've got a purpose. You're enough. You have a strong why. You're willing, you're daring, you're experimental. Okay? Like, I need you to remember those things. This is why I wanted to do this episode. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to wrap that up with this episode. Again, I have one favor to ask from you. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, please tell other people about the RAS Project so they can subscribe and get a weekly download of powerful messages to help them grow their life and business. You got questions? I got answers. Shoot me an email at ivan@razorsharpdigital.com. I'm going to put it up on the screen here if you're watching on video as well. Again, you got questions? I got answers. Hit me up at ivan@razorsharpdigital.com. I would love to tackle your specific question on a future episode of the RAS Project. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, remember, triumph victoriously. You are amazing. You are enough. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.